Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 Out today. Got another account overview for you guys. So this time around, I'm going to be showing off all the units, their builds, and their gear that I've used for things in the previous season, right? Since the new season is going to be starting up in, a few weeks, we don't know exactly when. I thought it would be a good idea to share my stat lines and stuff, especially because we're seeing an influx of newer players to the game, and especially to this channel. So when you're looking at these units and referencing yours, and you're trying to build these units here yourself, keep in mind that these are just like thresholds that you can strive to aim for over time. My account is over 6 years old. I've been collecting all these units. I've been farming for all these gears over all these years. So it might take a little bit of time for you to catch up, right? But don't be discouraged. Use these, stat thresholds that you see on these characters as things to strive for, right? If you're a mid-level, a mid-level progression in the game, then, you should be pretty close to achieving some of these stats on a couple of characters here and there. And if you're end game, well, this is just a great little way for you to compare your units to mine and see where you stand up, right? So let's go ahead and jump into this and start off with Abigail. Abigail's a unit that I honestly didn't really use at all in the last season, but immortality is really strong. I still have her built, right? Pretty bulky with pretty high defense. Honestly, with the current RTA frenzy and stuff, I could probably lower this defense and go for more damage or more speed or more health, but overall she's a pretty fun character to use, right? These are her stats right here for the piece of gear. She's on Victorious Flag for some extra damage and some mitigation, and her EE is over here. I believe it's on the defense break EE as well. So speed and immunity, pretty typical stuff on Abigail. You can also run her on destruction, but for me the speed set gear was a little bit better. Next up we have Ed, who has popped up here and there sometimes. I didn't really use him much in the last season, but in the previous seasons, like ones before the last one, I did use him quite a bit into things like Harsetti, but then I ended up just pre-banning Harsetti all of last season and pretty much never used him. Golden Rose is my artifact of choice on him, which is pretty good for some healing, especially with his S2 AoE attack, right? And it just increases his general damage dealt. Almost 240 speed. These are the stat lines for his gear, so I could have definitely achieved like a bit more speed if I wanted to with his like weapon and his necklace and such, right? There's not a whole ton of speed pieces on him, honestly, but yeah, he has decent base stats in terms of speed. His HP is hard to build on him though, so without the imprints for the crit rate, I don't think I'd be able to achieve these types of stats. Alright, next up we have Guard Captain Krau. Obviously not a unit of the previous season, but one of the upcoming season and the current preseason, so a little bit of sneak preview for you guys. I'm going to be tweaking his gear completely here, but this is my current build that I'm running that you see. If you want to check out some gameplay of him, check out the live stream we did a few days ago on the channel. If you watch the VOD, you can see me use him in RTA, and yeah, he's pretty decent. This is just my old Karina gear slapped on him, and he does wonders, right? I know a lot of people are jumping on the 280 speed Hwayoung train, but honestly, Guard Captain Krau outperforms Hwayoung in pretty much every scenario, maybe bar some instances in RTA, but he's good in Guild Wars, he's good in Arena, you can use him as a one-man army in most cases. He is super powerful, and yeah, just his own artifact on plus 15, because it gives defense as a main stat, not HP, which is very unique right now. It's the first artifact of its kind. Alright, next up we have Hwayoung, the unit that people have been kind of jumping on the hype train for. So I could definitely lower her bulk here by a ton and give her a ton more attack. This is just the kind of bruisery build that I was using before. Was bringing her into RTA here and there to try and test her out, but honestly haven't really gotten much success with a build like this. So yeah, definitely probably gonna just use her as a one-for-one trade unit. If you build her a bit faster, right, then you can probably find success there. But yeah, she's a great unit in the past and has some usability now, but honestly, if you have Guard Captain Krau, Hwayoung is not necessarily required at all. Using her on this EE, which increases her S3 damage by 10%, and have her currently on Ubirus' Tooth for extra damage. Alright, next up we have Fire Ravi with a new skin. Looks fantastic, but Fire Ravi kind of haven't really been using her all too much lately. She is really good against people who tend to still bring like anti-crit units onto their side of the field. It's really rare nowadays, but I've still run into a few instances of people using stuff like Navy Captain Landy, where Fire Ravi does tend to do decently. Yeah, so she is currently on a plus 30 Sigurd Scythe for some extra healing and extra attack, which is very good. And then we also have the her EE here, which is gives up straight more damage to her S1, right? The reason I do that is because she's on a counter build. On counter, when you attack, you're going to attack with your S1, so this just increases her overall damage. Investing into her S3 is not as worth it, just because her S3 is used very rarely. You get like 1 or 2 of them off per fight, right? Whereas your S1, your main, which is your main damage skill. So yeah, there you go, that's my Fire Ravi. Next up we have Shalltear. Now this is a unit that I don't really use in RTA at all. As you can see, her build is really weird. The reason why her build is incredibly weird is because I use this Shalltear in Arena or Guild War offenses where I'm fighting against Harseti teams. Harseti teams like to have something like Afternoon Soak Flan with them, so what I do is I build a slightly tankier Shalltear, right, with a lot of damage. She doesn't need any speed. I just couldn't find any destruction pieces without speed here, unfortunately. But yeah, she is currently on Pipette Lance for extra damage and a little bit of healing. But this type of build here for Shalltear is pretty fun. She's tanky enough to withstand hits from the Harseti, and then you just nuke the Afternoon Soak Flan afterwards, and you're golden. That's pretty much her only job. So it's pretty interesting to see a build like this work on an offensive team. Right, next up, we have Jenua. Speaking of offense, one of the best offensive DPS units in the game. He is currently on Wind Rider, so typically I'd give him a higher level Wind Rider, but it's currently on someone else right now. So yeah, these are his stat line for his Destruction and Torrent set. Honestly, not the best Jenua out there. I just tried to give him as much attack and crit damage as possible, while maintaining around 200 speed. People build him much faster, people build him with a lot more damage, right? People build him with effect resistance. Effect res is probably the build I would go for. The issue is I just don't have the gear for it, unfortunately. So he's just gonna have to suffer with these stat lines for right now. I would love an effect res Jenua, but I'm just not there yet. Alright, next up we have Tori. So yeah, Tori is currently on the Wind Rider that used to be on Jenua here. So a plus 27 artifact. I don't use Jenua as much as Tori in RTA. So in RTA right now, Tori is actually really good for nuking tanks. So she's currently on Lifesteal and Immunity. The Immunity is great because any buffs on her are undispellable, right? So she can't get debuffed at all, just at the start of the match until she takes her turn. I could honestly slow her down a little bit. I think I did slow her down a little with this ring. She used to be about 200 speed, a little bit better, but I gave that ring to Spirit Eye Celine. This still does a lot of damage on this build, especially if you get that Soul Burn off for free and you have the Cascade buff. She is going to hit really, really hard. But yeah, Lifesteal is probably the way to go if you want to sustain her over longer fights, which is typically where I want to bring her into, you know, fighting against tanky teams and such, where she excels. Alright, next up, speaking of fighting against tanky stuff, Afternoon Soak Flan. This is a very outdated build, so I haven't really updated a lot of my units' builds. Just in the last season, in general, of the last few months, I have not really touched regearing units, unless it's like a quick regear. For showcases, but yeah, so Afternoon Soak Flan is on her own artifact. I plus 30'd it with some Bottles of Knowledge. She is SSS imprint. I had a lot of Flans laying around. She's my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in the entire game, so had a few extra copies laying around here and there from summons, and this is her gear right now. So she's on Penetration set because of her S1 damage and S3 damage, right? The S1 damage is in like her dual attack damage, a single target, so it really helps out there, and she's on Lifesteal for sustain. Honestly, moving forward, I am going to be changing her off of Lifesteal, and I want to put her on Counter set. These stat lines on a counter build would be fantastic, just because she is focused down quite a bit, so if they're attacking her and she gets to counter and like finish off your opponent, it's wonderful. This bulk is also really nice. Really rarely do I get one shot by like an Eligos or something like that with these types of stats and some mitigation on the team. So yeah, if I have her on a counter build, I think she'd do very well. Lifesteal has saved my butt a few times, but not enough times where I'd say like it's the quintessential like best set. I think if you're playing a slower build like this, if you're not going for like a 260 something, like 250 something build, where you're bridging into like, you know, a aggro or cleave comp, then Counter is probably the better slow set to run here on Flan, even though I love Lifesteal, sadly. But she did really well this season, probably had one of the highest win rates out of all my units, which is crazy. I think she had like a 70% win rate or something, 75% win rate. So she won pretty much most of the matches I brought her into that she got through draft. Fantastic unit. Next up, speaking of Eligos, we have Eligos here, 280 speed, really great damage on him, really liking his build, and a lot of his pieces are event pieces, like this piece here, right, event crafting piece and event crafting piece, perfect piece of gear, which is wonderful. He is on his EE here, where at the start of the battle he grants stealth for 2 turns, really helps with keeping him alive, and it allows him to not have to use guiding light. So here are his stat lines for the pieces, and offer you can't refuse also is usable now, because again, you don't have to use guiding light because of his EE to keep him nice and stealth. So I would like to eventually max this out for more consistency here. Has an 85% chance to increase combat readiness of everyone by 15%. It's good enough. I don't really rely on him as a bridge unit necessarily, so it does work out for me as of right now. But yeah, penetration for some extra damage here, and obviously you want to run speed set, want to make him as fast as possible while maintaining really good damage numbers. I don't think I'd be changing his build for the upcoming season for the aggressive playstyles, because he's pretty optimized here. I like it a lot. Next up is a unit that recently got buffed, which is Fire Lidica. So this is my current build here, 311 speed, 77 effectiveness. This is Hellion Lua's gear that I just kind of took off of her and slapped onto Lidica just to see what would happen, and she works very, very well. She's on Guiding Light here. I know she is really fast and not really necessary to run Guiding Light on her, especially because I'm outspeeding most of the people that I'm fighting that don't have like a Zio or Harsetti, but this is, again, mostly for Zio. If your opponent brings Zio, you can bring Fire Lidica, and that just means that you don't have to care about him like pushing your Lidica back or anything like that. For the EEs, I'm currently inflicting Restrict on all enemies for 2 turns when using Thornbush, which is a fantastic effect. Restrict prevents Empyrean Ilynav and units like that from pushing up and taking a turn and cleansing, and you can Soulburn and ignore res and apply this as well. So if you have, you know, Soul Weavers and stuff on the other team that would try to cut you or something like that, they can't, which is wonderful. So yeah, Lidica here, these are her stats on her gear. Obviously, if you're trying to achieve like this level of speed, it's going to be very hard. There's a 20, 26 speed, 22, 23 speed, 20 speed piece right there. Yeah, it's on average, I think, 22. You have to have 22 speed on every piece of gear except the boots to reach 310 speed, right? So just for reference. But yeah, I'll show you my Hellion Lua's stats by taking the pieces off of Lidica in just a bit when we get to her. But yeah, Lidica is currently, I'm using her in RTA, I'm testing her out, seeing how she does, and she is very, very good. Alright, next up we have Nahkwol, who has just random piece of gear thrown on her, honestly. Not the greatest unit for me in RTA. I have not had the opportunity to really use her here. I feel like I need her just either bulkier or around the speed, or I honestly just need to go for like way more speed because she's a little bit too slow for where I am in RTA. If I want to use her, I want to use her well, and she needs to go really early on for me. Either that or I slow her down just enough to maybe like 270 speed or something, where and give her like extreme amounts of bulk where she's going to survive things, where my opponents get to go, they buff and all that stuff, and then I go and I strip everything and I, you know, bind with Nahkwol and seal. That would be a pretty good approach as well. But yeah, she's currently on Guiding Light because, again, Zio exists, so you don't want to get hit by Zio. And these are the stats for all of her pieces of gear. On average, about 19 to 20 speed to achieve this, so she is relatively slow compared to something like a Fire Lidica, obviously. But yeah, Nahkwol, not too bad. Again, I just didn't really use her myself personally, but she's still good. Okay, next up we have Summertime Iseria, a unit that I geared for more tankier gameplay purposes, but now, honestly, she's a really good bridge unit with like Fire Lidica. Summertime Iseria, though, she's currently running her EE here where I inflict a bomb, or detonate the bombs at the end of the turn, and she's running her artifact here where she has a 100% chance to plant bombs. So basically, she becomes Pirate Captain Flan. You S1 somebody, put bombs, you detonate immediately, and they're stunned. Really good right now in RTA just because the frenzy mechanic changes, so bombs deal more damage. This is her stat spread on her gears. I opted to go for way more effectiveness here, 200 effectiveness while maintaining 240 speed and a lot of bulk. I really wanted her to have the bulk to survive, and it's been working quite well. People can't really finish her off, and it is really annoying for them, so she'll just continuously bomb and turn cycle and all that good stuff, right? You honestly, on this EE, never really have to S3. You just really just use her S1 and just control everyone, right, as much as possible. Alright, next up we have Veronica. As you can see, I still don't have her speed imprint because I'm super lazy. So that's quite unfortunate. I'll try to get it as soon as possible though, because she is very, very good. I opted to go for less attack and crit damage and 282 speed, and I opted to go for effectiveness instead of the damage. So yeah, we'll go through the piece of gear in a bit. She's on Guiding Light because you don't want to get hit by Zeo. Do you see a pattern here with these units? And her passive right now is just increasing extra combat readiness whenever there's an immortality unit on the other side. Mostly because that's her only job when I'm bringing her is, you know, dealing with the BBKs and all that stuff, the Amikis, right? The really annoying stuff. Okay, yeah, but here are her stat lines here for her piece of gear. Obviously, she can be made much, much faster, but trying to prioritize things like effectiveness here while maintaining some damage. So yeah, this was a good compromise, I think, in terms of the pieces. Yeah, Veronica, highly recommend. She's a free unit. You can play, you can get her through story, and you can get the imprints through the story as well. I just have to beat all those challenge stages, which they just seem a little daunting to me right now, so haven't done it. Alright, next up we have Festive Eda. Honestly, I think a unit I should be using a lot more. I like her stat spread a lot, and she's on Tagahel's Ancient Book, which is very useful. But currently, yeah, just not really, haven't really been picking her, haven't really been drafting her. Her pieces here are also okay. I mean, I have a couple of free pieces up here for the, actually, 3, half her gear is free. The weapon, the necklace, and the boots were all free pieces. But yeah, overall, not really too difficult to build. I like her a bit tankier, and her speed is a little middling. I know some people like to build her with much faster speed, but yeah, with 150 effectiveness, you're probably debuffing most things in the game, unless they're a dedicated resist build. So Festive Eda, solid unit, but again, I didn't really use her in the previous season. She's very good defensively, which is why I built her a little bit slower in terms of speed there. Alright, next up we have Melissa, one of the surprising DPS units that I was using in the last season. Very, very cool with her ability to put Curse on things like Afternoon Soak Flan, right? And she deals massive amounts of damage too. And she also has the immortality gimmick to rival that of BBK and Namiki. So yeah, very fun unit, can sometimes outlast those two units on the battlefield as well if you play your cards right. So Melissa, very fun. Tagahel's Ancient Book for the Soul Burn, not necessarily just for herself. She does ignore res on her S3, but could be for her setup units and such, right? And then I also have it so that she increases attack for herself for 2 turns when using her S3, so that her S2 hits that much harder, which is her main damage skill. It resets every time you kill somebody, so it's nice. Yeah, these are a piece of gear. The gear score is, you know, pretty decent for all of these. I'd say the ring and the chest piece can definitely use some improvement, but not by all that much, honestly. It's pretty decent overall. Have on penetration set too, just to give her some extra damage, that extra oomph to all of her attacks. And yeah, 250 speed, very solid for this unit here. Next up, we have Meru. Yeah, I actually got the skin. Yeah, surprisingly, with the with code from the art books here. So Meru has got a little bit of a change. She's mostly a PvE unit. This is what she's running right now. She's on Magic for Friends as per usual. Her best artifact is made specifically for her, and these are her stat spreads. So use her in Earth Expeditions and in Nightmare Labyrinth. Definitely a fantastic unit to invest into because she's free. Yeah. Very, very impressed with this build here. Actually been able to full clear my Earth Expeditions now, which is quite impressive. Never been able to do that before. It's the one I struggle with the most, and this build has helped quite a bit with that. Alright, next up we have Fire Politis. This is my DPS variant. I never use this, honestly. pretty much never drafted this ever. Tagehel's Ancient Book, as per usual. Here are her stat lines here. She needs, obviously, some extra crit, which we can get by getting a better piece somewhere here, either the helmet or the chest piece. The chest piece is absolute doo-doo here. Same with the boot, not that great. But yeah, some pieces can be replaced. I just never draft Fire Politis. I never bothered to invest too much into her here. The Politis I do use, though, is this one. Yeah, this is my Degen Politis, so she is on Abyssal Crown, very good artifact for her for the extra stun chance in the control aspect, and she's currently on a speed and res set, so this is her stat line. She's currently 200 speed, which is good enough, good amount of bulk here as well to stay alive, 85 effectiveness, good enough to debuff pretty much all the units that have like 100 resistance, right, so 85 effectiveness is decent, and I have 200 resistance, which makes her really difficult to debuff and control. If your opponent's opening up and stuff and they're trying to, you know, stop your Politis, you stun her, sleep her, something so her passive can't activate, it's probably not gonna work. And yeah, been really liking this build way more than the DPS variant, although I do need to polish up my DPS variant for some applications in the future. Alright, next up, Researcher Carrot. Her build hasn't changed in a very long time, but she is currently on Edica's Scepter and a speed and immunity set, right? 230 speed, I like it. Effectiveness a little bit low, but honestly, not that big of a deal. Not many units are running a ton of effectiveness right now in the meta. And yeah, I really do like her bulk though. That defense, especially from that ring, makes me so happy. One of my favorite characters in the game. Absolutely my #1 favorite 3-star in the game. But just, you know, hope I can use her a bit more in this RTA season where the burns have extra damage. Alright, next up we have Roy Mustang. He is currently on Chatty, and he's on a Lifesteal Torrent build. He actually has some of my best Lifesteal Torrent pieces. I say that, but this necklace and the ring are absolute garbage right now. It's okay. The ring's actually fine because the flat attack helps quite a bit, but everything else is okay. I mean, he could use some help in some certain places, but you see flat attack on the boot, on the ring, that is helping out his damage. You know, 4,300 attack. That's with no imprints, by the way. He self-imprints into attack. This is with no imprints. Almost 200 speed, 300 crit damage. He is a monster when he actually gets to hit the field. Unfortunately, defense penetration resistance makes him a little bit worse, so he's not good into Diene at all, and he is definitely going to struggle into things like Empyrean Ilynav, but other than that, he will deal really good damage, and he is actually really difficult to deal with if your opponent doesn't bring the right units into him, especially if there's no ice units on the other side, which is kind of rare. He's really weak to Amiki though. If you fight an Amiki, Roy is pretty much dead. He's useless. Alright, next up, we're finally entering the ice unit territory here. We got Choux, who I honestly haven't really used, but counter penetration build, pretty decent, regular standard stuff. Got a Snow Crystal for some extra combat readiness, and her EE here where she has the extra chance to activate Fwoosh. Here are her stat lines here. Keep in mind I have some crit rate imprints, so it does help alleviate some of the gear requirements here, but it shouldn't be too hard to, you know, drop a little bit of defense, especially in this current RTA frenzy meta where you get like 500 extra defense for free. So it's okay to drop some defense and such to optimize the build, right? But yeah, my crit damage is a little bit low, but with the penetration set, it does make up for it in some cases. Right, next up we have Rem. Yeah, Rem is a unit that I was using before as like a kind of an anti-cleave deterrent stuff, along with like Navy Captain Landy. They work really well together, but with the advent of things like Mort, obviously, counter sets have pretty much become obsolete, and counter units have fallen off the face of the planet. So this is my build. She is still fun to use sometimes, but honestly, I can't see myself using her in the current RTA season. Sigurd's Scythe is the artifact of choice for some extra attack, extra healing and such, which is fantastic. But yeah, overall, sad, just sad, the state of counter units in the game. Karina is actually a really good unit right now. Let me go ahead and show you guys what her build would be, honestly. So give me a second and I'll put the gear on for you. Alright guys, so here we go. This is my Karina build right here on the right side. You can see the stat lines right here, and it's the same exact pieces of gear as Krau, because again, I took these pieces from Karina, slapped them on Krau to make Krau work, but if these pieces were back on Karina, you can see 2,800 defense, right, 17,000 HP, 200 speed, 100 resistance. She is a very, very solid unit, especially right now until things like the Tori teams. She's really really good into Tori. Her splash damage is almost unrivaled, honestly, unless it's like a 3F knight. But she is running Rocket Punch Gauntlet as well, which allows her to inflict a ton more damage proportional to her defense stat. And she has pretty high defense, 2800. Okay, moving on, we have Brieg. Brieg I've actually brought into RTA a few times as well. He's really funny because he does work. This is for PvP, but it also works really well in PvE. I use him in a ton of my expeditions, Nightmare Labyrinth, all that good stuff, right? So really good PvE build. He doesn't need full crit rate because his S2 gives him perception buff, or whatever it was called, right here. Yeah, perception. So that gains him, grants him 15% extra crit rate and a bit of extra crit damage too. So his crit damage can be a little bit lower. I also have him on Mature Sunglasses, which increases his critical hit damage as well and decreases his damage suffered. So it's a bit of a mitigation artifact. Helps in both PvP and PvE. But there's definitely other artifacts that you can run instead of Mature Sunglasses. This is stat spread right now, so he is very tanky with defense, right? From the necklace especially and the boots. Really high defense there. You can get it into HP if you'd like. It can definitely be very useful to have more health, but for me, for all my purposes here with him, he does his job. He doesn't die in the PvE boss fights either, which is good enough for me. Alright, next up we have Krau, who also recently got buffed, and he is on a Revenge set. Revenge HP set here, really fun to run him on Revenge with like 200 something speed. If I self-imprint him here, almost 27,000 health. He would have a maxed Holy Sacrifice, but it's currently on Mort. Currently have this as a placeholder to remind me to put it on him when I do Guild Wars and such. But yeah, Krau, fantastic unit. He has built-in Aureus and stuff now, so you could change his artifact to anything you want, really. More mitigation, you just don't need Aureus on him like you used to. His S1, I just have extra chances to provoke, which is really nice to help keep the team alive. He's a very good team support unit. And yeah, currently have him on these stat lines here. The Revenge set, again, is for when he gets low on HP, he becomes faster, and you get to take the turn, nuke somebody with your S3, right? Or nuke the entire team with the S3 if you want to soul burn it, if that's to your liking. But yeah, Krau is really good right now for slower teams, and I can't wait to try to use him more in the upcoming season. Right, next up, Summer Break Charlotte. I built her mostly for like a slow, tanky unit to use with, you know, other units that are slower and tankier, things like Harsetti, but I end up banning Harsetti pretty much every game, so I never really got to use her, unfortunately. She is on Wings of Light and Shadow, just for that extra crit rate right there, to round out her crit chance and the extra damage that's dealt. Which is not bad, especially with the dual attacks, right? It is pretty good for setting her up to deal extra damage on subsequent turns. Lifesteal and Unity set. I really love Unity and Lifesteal. They're my two favorite sets in the entire game. Lifesteal #1 and Unity #2. But yeah, combined together on Summer Break Charlotte, it's pretty funny. It just doesn't really, yeah, she doesn't really do all that much right now. She's kind of struggling, not in a good place. Okay, next up we have Elvira. Elvira here, we have her on her, Minagal Lilius' artifact, Hostess of the Banquet. For the extra effect res, the damage dealt doesn't matter at all. Have her on Speed Resist build right here. This is her stat line. I honestly need to get her way more bulkier, but with the artifact here, she does have 300 resist, and she currently has about 90 effectiveness, which is very solid, right, for what I need her to do, which is debuff the opponents and not get debuffed herself. You can't have her immortality stripped, because once she dies, your opponent can use Fighting Spirit again. She is really good right now in Arena and Guild War offenses, because a lot of defense teams have young Senya in them, right? So Elvira does really well against those. Next up, we have Byblis, and Byblis here, good speed, right, good effectiveness, decent bulk. Unfortunately, you don't really need to punish counterattack units much anymore. I have her on Iron Fan just to kind of turn cycle her here, and I do use her in Nightmare Labyrinth, but yeah, counterattack units don't really need to get punished by Byblis anymore because Mort exists, and when you have Mort, your opponent just can't counter in general, so why take the damage and like get hit, right, when you can just prevent yourself from getting hit to begin with. I know Byblis gives you benefits for being hit, like barriers and such, and you know, you can defense break your opponents, strip their buffs, or you can just Mort and inflict 2 turns of fear and ruin everyone's day, right? So, works out. Anyway, Byblis, I haven't really used her since Mort came out. Very sad, but she used to be really good with Navy against Navy Captain Landies and such. Alright, next up we have Aria. Aria's a really good unit right now into Fire Raws and Tori teams. That's a very common team to run into nowadays because it's pretty easy to build and pretty self-sufficient, and you can bring a variety of different support units for them as well. But Aria, yeah, she's currently running a Fairy Tale for a Nightmare, which gives an extra chance to dispel buffs and also deal extra fixed damage, which is wonderful. Her EE here is also giving her extra focus at the start of the match, right? The effect res helps quite a bit because I have around 200 effect resistance right now. 170 speed is okay. I would like her to be a little bit faster, but it's hard to get it's honestly really hard to get the stats that you need. I would honestly be okay with this, this crit rate is fine, but she's a really stat hungry unit. Crit damage is also okay. People might look at that and say it's really low, but if you're running something like Fairy Tale for a Nightmare where you're doing a ton of fixed damage to your opponent, it's okay, especially if you have a plus 27 one, like I do here, plus 31, right? But if I go to the plus 27 one here that I have, if I can find it, there you go. So almost a 3/4 chance to dispel a debuff or a buff from the opponent, and 100% chance to deal almost 2,000 fixed damage. That's really, really nice. Yeah, so definitely a really good option for Aria. I should probably be putting that Fairy Tale artifact on her right now, but yeah, pretty solid overall, really hard to build, 2,000 defense, really hard to achieve. I have a few defense imprints as well here. These are her stat lines on all her gears. Again, you can see pretty good quality gears, right? All 90 plus gear score, 100 plus on the chest piece. That chest is insane. In more ways than one, I guess you could say. But yeah, Aria is a very solid unit right now. Alright, next up, Fairy Tale Tenebria. Oh, sorry, this is not, this is a DPS Tenebria. Please forgive me, but Trin, if you're watching this video, enjoy DPS Tenebria here. Little Easter egg thrown in. Next up, we have Diene. Diene is almost 260 speed. I kind of just tried to throw some gear on her to make her work. 100 effect res. Honestly, I'm really liking her right now. She can be really, really powerful. I just need to have her with more speed and perhaps a better artifact. Guardian Ice Crystals could be decent here as well, but Soul Constellation could be a good option too into things like ML Politis. So yeah, Rod of Amaryllis is a fantastic healing artifact because Diene doesn't have any healing in her kit. She does have good barriers and mitigation though. You can see her stat lines on the right side, not really good piece of gear, all sub 90 gear score, right? So definitely can be improved there. Just keep in mind, she actually does really like flat HP substats. It helps her bulk quite a bit. Her EE here, I am running the plus 15% combat readiness increase when using her S2. Don't need the barrier strength, and the S1 really doesn't matter all too much with the combat readiness that she already grants herself and the team. So yeah, the extra combat readiness is really good to help mitigate like ML Politis' push and stuff. Ideally, I'll get her to like 280 speed or something like that, so about 20 something more speed here, and we'll be golden. It'll probably require us to have we probably want more effect res, and we really just need to drop that bulk down quite a bit. It's unfortunate, but it's what we gotta do. If we had something like imprints here for the Diene, it would be kind of nice to get some more bulk, but honestly, if the imprint was on effect res, I wouldn't be mad either. Right, next up, we have Elena. Elena here with 245 speed, good enough to cut anything, right, with the AoE skills and stuff like Ron that open up with that. That's really where I use her in RTA as kind of an anti-cleave unit, one of the last few true anti-cleave units that remain. She's on Doctor's Bag for some extra healing and some extra cleansing, and her EE here is also on some extra cleansing. This is on her S2. So when her S2 gets procced, when your team gets hit by an AoE, she'll cleanse 2 debuffs off your team through her EE and her artifact, and then she can S3 and put invincibility on the entire team, which is wonderful. This is her stat line here for all the gears. And yeah, I do have a couple of imprints into her as well, so one imprint into her for the extra 9 effect resistance actually helps quite a bit. Brings her into that 250 effect res threshold, which means you can't get debuffed by anything that's 150 effectiveness or less. Okay, next up we have Fenne. So Fenne is actually on her own artifact because it's actually not that bad. Gives her extra crit rate here, which essentially maxes out her crit rate for her stat line. And then she also deals injury, which is really good, especially since her S1 hits twice. So you can get 20% injury on your opponents as long as you have the rage buff on her. So yeah, this is her current stat spread here. I really like her. I use her in the Rift right now too. So this is a PvE/PvP build as well. Just keep in mind, I have my Rift fully maxed out in terms of the buffs, which is why I can run her with this type of stat line. Typically, you would run her with a little less speed, 170, like 1 to 175 speed, I think is ideal with Wondrous Potion Vial if you're trying to use her in Rift. But once you max out your Rift stat line stuff, you can just go for anything you'd like, really, with Fenne, and it would work. So there we go. Next up we have Frida. People always ask, why don't you use Frida more often? And honestly, you're right, I should be using her more often. 200 effect resistance here with 250 speed, a little bit of bulk. She is on Soul Constellation for the extra resistance, so 230 resist here, which is not bad. And if your opponent uses a non-attack skill, she's going to push up as well. So she could be a pretty decent answer to something like Emma Politis. But the problem is, I need her to be a lot faster, and she just isn't fast enough right now. Again, same thing with my Diene. If I can make my Diene maybe 270 speed with Soul Constellation, she would be solid. Frida just needs a little bit of extra speed as well, but I don't know where I'd take the rest of the stats from. Maybe a little bit of resistance, right? I don't know. Not really sure. Anyway, you can see that the stats on the right side here, normally for Soul Weavers and tanks, they are going to be lower in terms of gear score just because you do want flat HP, flat defense, and stuff like that littered around in your gear, which don't really add too much to the gear score, but it adds a lot of value to the tankiness of your characters. So yeah, Frida is going to be there. You can see the ice list is actually pretty short. So now we're moving on into the earth element. We see Alencia leading the charge here with a ton of health, 25k health. We have Prayer of Solitude to increase health by 7.5%. That happens in combat, and it takes 7.5% not of your base health, but of your overall health here. So take the 25,000, right? Add that 7.5% extra health of this on top of it, and you're going to be looking really good. I also have her on the healing EE on the S1. A lot of people do like to go for the decreased combat readiness on her S3 as well. I think it's pretty solid, but I like the healing and self-sustain on the S1, especially because I'm running an injury set here with HP. You can see these stat lines here on the right side. I used to have her at like 225 speed on injury set, but I didn't really have enough damage and didn't really have enough bulk, right? She used to be something along the lines of 20 or 21k health. Decided to go for way more bulk here, and it's been paying off. I do like it. She survives a lot more, and she deals a lot more damage now too. So yeah, Alencia, fantastic unit against tankier teams, especially the HP scaling ones, but now that we're switching over to a lot of defense scaling units, her use might be diminished a little bit. Just keep in mind, Earth units are in general not going to be very good in the last season or so, because Fire units were dominating with Fire, Flan, Jenua, Tori, right? Just really, really powerful Fire units with very specific ways to deal with them that Earth elements just cannot really handle. Next up is Arunca. We have her on a 7,100 attack. We have her on a Little Queen's Huge Crown, almost fully maxed out artifact for the increased damage, right? 30% extra damage if the opponent has a barrier, right? And we also have her on this EE that increases her combat readiness by 30% when she uses that S3. And keep in mind that when she S3s here, she penetrates the target's defense by 70% when they have a barrier. So not only that, we also running her on penetration set. So with 7,100 attack, how many people with barriers has she killed? 0. She is terrible in terms of damage dealing, honestly. Her niche is already really niche, but she can't do her job very well at all. It'd be better if they just gave her full 100% defense penetration on that S3 if they have a barrier, and so that we can switch off of, I don't know, the penetration onto Torrent set or something like that. But yeah, Arunca sadly just doesn't really do all that much. I really love her design though, and her gear is quite specific, so I do keep her geared for now. But just keep in mind, there are better options out there, unfortunately. Alright, next up we have Laya. So currently my Laya should be on Sweet Miracle. That was on pair over there. Let's switch that over. So yeah, Sweet Miracle, Laya, 270 speed, really, really bulky here. I have it on Team Imprint, but if I put it on Self Imprint, 27,000 health with the ability to cleanse your team really early on with this amount of speed. Yeah, she's currently on offset pieces because she really doesn't need a full set piece. HP would be ideal, but yeah, for right now, this is providing a lot more bulk and a lot more speed, especially with that chest piece there. I should be able to speed up the helmet a little bit. That way I can, you know, put this chest piece onto somebody else that might be able to use it a bit better. But yeah, currently as it stands, it is not that bad. And yeah, Laya, definitely one of the best limited units in the game still, and she's still usable in slower teams. Just keep in mind that there are defense penetration resist units out there, and you do have to use her a bit more carefully than you used to before. You used to be able to just first pick Laya all the time. In the last season, I used her maybe a couple of times, a handful of times in total, but yeah, overall, still a solid unit. Just be careful when you pick her. She's a bit more niche right now. Alright, next up we have, well, Rimuru used to be geared. Let me go ahead and slap on his boot here. He used to be geared, and he used to have a ton of effect resistance. So, I think I used to have him on something like this. I think it actually was like made Chloe's piece right here, but I could put this piece on. So something like this where I have like 150 effect resistance, 200 speed, and a bunch of bulk. He's on Proof of Valor as well. Just want to make sure that he cannot get killed and just nuke the problematic unit on your opponent's side. Unfortunately, this type of build is just kind of outdated right now. Not that great. And he really hasn't, I haven't drafted him once, I don't think. He used to be good as like against certain types of teams, against like super slow, chip damagey teams that Rimuru can just keep lapping and keep nuking with his S3 for fixed damage. He is going to be a little bit weaker now with Fallen Cecilia out as well, because she mitigates that fixed damage that he would do. But yeah, Rimuru is still decent against like squishier teams, squishier units. Especially ones that have really strong buffs on their team. Like if you try to use him against Elena, for example, yeah, you can steal that invincibility for your team. It's pretty nifty, but very, very niche. I haven't figured out a way to make him work in the last season, and I don't know if he's going to be good in the upcoming one right now either, because again, he's an earth unit, and fire units are dominating right now. Next up, we have Albedo. Albedo is fantastic for slower teams, honestly still is, running 3F right here, which is very nice for the extra fixed damage, kind of like Karina's Rocket Punch Gauntlet, but scales with HP instead. And this is currently her setup here with speed and health. Honestly, I don't think I'll be changing her build moving forward. I really like this with the 70 effectiveness. Allows her to debuff units with up to like, you know, 85 effect resistance pretty consistently. Even the 100% effect res people, she can debuff on a semi-consistent basis there. So not bad at all. Really, really solid unit, and really punishing too. She is stifled a little bit by things like Mort, so you do gotta keep that in mind. Alright, let's move on to my man, Charles. Look at that smirk. Look at that glorious face right there. So, Charles is geared to actually be used with Harsetti. I'm looking forward to using him in RTA, because honestly, that attack and defense, like, being boosted there is really, really good for him. He has pretty good damage overall right now, but honestly, still just very, very lacking. Got him on Elber's Ritual Sword for the extra counters. He, of course, dies to Mort. And then his S1 has an extra chance to activate the S2. Is he a good unit? No. Do I love using him? Yes. And that is what matters in this game. Just have fun. Build the units you like to build and use them because you like the unit and not just because that they're meta, right? Enjoy the game for what it is. It's a game. Speaking of that, if you don't like having fun at all, the Great Mortelix is here. So the Great Mortelix, I have him on Destruction and Crit. He's on Holy Sacrifice because, you know, just give your opponent a little glimmer of hope when they kill him before he comes back and still says no to counters and ruins their day. He also has his S2, which extends the buff duration of his Sacred Blessing. Increased speed by 1 turn. So 2 turn increased speed is insane on him, helps him turn cycle quite a bit. And currently this is a stat spread, destruction and crit set again, like I mentioned, 200 speed, very solid bulk here. Remember, he ignores res of anyone who has lower HP than him. 25k is a pretty good threshold. That's most Soul Weavers and support units and stuff out there, right? And even the units who can have more HP than him, as long as they don't have any effect resistance, you go through a normal effectiveness and resist check, right? So not bad. Alright, moving on, we have Silvertide Christy. Have not really used her in the last season, but I used to use her quite a bit actually. Zeo traps and stuff galore. Currently running her on Bastion of Perlucia for the immunity to herself and the backline unit. Not that she needs immunity with almost 300 resistance here, but she gives half her resist stat to the unit in the back line. So if you're running a resist team, she's actually really useful. I might actually rebuild her, re-gear her a little bit, tweak her a bit, so I can use her with things like Maid Chloe, because I'm actually really interested in going for like a Maid Chloe team with Christy and perhaps like Spirit Eye Celine and stuff like that, right? Maybe other res units on the team could be pretty fun. So yeah, we'll have to see. She'll work really well with Bellion too, which I'll talk about when we get to her, but I really do want to build an effect res team because I think they're going to be quite useful in the upcoming meta, especially with Bellion ban protected. Next up we have Yolha, who's missing a chest piece. Sorry about that, guys. A lot of my units are like in the process of getting rebuilt. I'm starting to get some extra time to work on things here. But yeah, anything that has a bit of HP and some effect resistance can work here. So if I slap something like this on, it should be okay, honestly, right? Something like this can work. There you go. So 30k health is pretty much what I try to aim for Yolha, and a bit of defense. Honestly, you don't need this much defense. You can go for a little less. Go for a bit more effect res or speed, that's fine. About 100 effect res is okay, it's enough for me, and about 170 speed is typically what I like my Yolha at. Bastion of Perlucia, yet again, because she has so much health, giving that barrier to the backline, 20% of your health here to the backline, that's a lot. It's like 6,000 HP to the backline unit, along with immunity, is really, really powerful. Okay, and moving on here, we have Celine. So this is one of my prized possessions on this account here. I love this Celine because she's so bulky. In RTA now, she has even more bulk and even more attack as the frenzy changes. So yeah, she's a monster right now. Lower speed because I don't really care about cutting my opponents and stuff, and quite a bit of damage. And she's currently running her own artifact, plus 30, for the consistency and getting the attack buff and the combat readiness push. Her EE here is the one that stuns the opponent for 1 turn when using Blink. I don't like the one where she targets the highest attack unit. It's really easily baited and predictable. Your opponents can see which EE you're on, by the way, by clicking the combat readiness meter on the side and then clicking your character's icon and reading their skills. So that is a way for them to figure out what EE you're on. So this just keeps them guessing. You have a 1 in 4 chance to stun that 1 DPS unit you really don't want to go, for example. And yeah, it's really good. So her stat line is here. Again, destruction penetration set. Her helmet could be a little bit better, but honestly that flat defense is what's holding it back. But flat defense is so good on thieves, and it's what's allowing her to get this 1100 defense stat here. So yeah, Celine, very solid, love using her. Honestly, I should be drafting her a lot more with how much my opponents pick him up Politis. Right, next up, Midnight Gala Lilius. Pretty much haven't used her all last season, even though I was playing really aggressively and such. Currently have her on Dark Bloodkeeper. You can have her on Wind Rider for sure, but I have this. It gives the extra attack already, just like Wind Rider, but if you use a non-attack skill, you grant a huge barrier, guys. This barrier is insane on Midnight Gala Lilius, especially because she has self-attack buffs as well with her S3. So if you S3 and you hit someone below the threshold of health and Lilius procs her S2, suddenly you got a huge barrier, and she's really difficult to kill, especially with that damage limit buff on her. She's currently on Torrent and Speed, which is wonderful. She has a little bit too much crit rate for my liking, but really can't get rid of the... I could get rid of the crit rate on things like the boots and stuff, but I don't think it's really worth it. Same thing with the necklace. I don't think it's worth it, right, to mod it out. There's not really much you can mod it out for, too, because there's already flat attack and such there. This is why a lot of people go for resist galas, but I really don't have the gear for it, sadly. Yeah, Gala still does her job, I just haven't really been using her. Defense penetration resistance kind of killed her off. She's a lot more difficult to pull off with Empyrean Ilynav running around, that's for sure. Next up, we have Ocean Breeze Luluka. So, very resistant Soul Weaver right here. 238 resist, along with the 30% resist from Soul Constellation. So, she's almost 270 resistance here. Getting some extra combat readiness from that Soul Constellation and her passive, which allows her to cut at around 240 something speed, which is good, but I just haven't really been using her. Honestly, I probably should into things, but just ML Politis being the main unit that has non-attack skills kind of sucks because it cuts your fighting spirit gains in half, and you can't turn cycle as much. You can't get the focus bar up so that you can do your extra attack to blind your opponents and everything like that. It just feels really bad using her into ML Politis. So yeah, unfortunately she's been kind of fallen off from her glory days, right, of especially countering things like Hand Guy and DDR back then. Next up, we have Rowana. Rowana is currently on Idol's Cheer, because I'm using her in PvE content for expeditions, counter set, and resist set here. Pretty typical stuff. I normally have her on Team Imprint to help support the team. She doesn't really need health herself. She has a lot of healing, too, with countering extras, extra attacks, dual attacks, and counter attack units, and PvE bosses, too, like the Ice Expedition. But yeah, currently on resist and counter set, you can see a stat spread on the right side. She actually has a bit more speed than most people do. I would honestly try to optimize it a little bit more by going for a bit more effect res. But other than that, I mean, she's used so rarely that it doesn't really matter for me right now. Very low priority. Next up is Schneel. Actually used him quite a bit last season. Surprisingly, people were picking a lot of DDRs, and they weren't banning Schneel. So Water's Origin Schneel makes it so that if he's being targeted, he gets combat readiness and recovers some health. He's currently on speed and effect res build here, as you can see on the right side. Yeah, he worked wonders against DDR. Just prevents DDR from pressing buttons, and if that happens, then you pretty much won in those scenarios. 150 effect res, I don't like him getting randomly provoked or silenced and stuff, especially because his S3 is such an important skill to get off for damage. Yeah, that's about it. Just a lot of bulk, got a middling speed to turn cycle. Good stuff. Speaking of turn cycling, Sharoon, 230 speed on counter and hit set. Very fun unit to be using, honestly. And she's on Wondrous Potion Vial, and she has an EE here, which reduces the S3 cooldown by 1 turn. You want to spam that S3, you want to keep stripping buffs off your opponent, stack those Venoms, reset their skills so they can't do what they want to do. This amount of speed allows her to turn cycle very fast, especially if your opponent stacks buffs on themselves. She's actually, I think, a pretty decent candidate for countering units like Diene, for example, so do keep that in mind. One of the few units who can do full buff strips. Just be careful because, again, things like Mort exist that can ignore her effect res and just fear her. It sucks. You have things that can one-shot her, like Hwayoung out there. That's like those 280 speed popular builds. Fire Krau can one-shot her right off the bat. Soul Weavers are just in a weird spot where they're kind of just squishy enough to get one-shot by some units, you know? But, like, you also need to build things like effectiveness or effect res on them too, because they're supportive and they need some of those stats to stay on the field and be relevant. So yeah, they're just stuck in a weird place. Obviously I could build a bit more bulk here. I honestly should probably sacrifice a bit more defense for health, just because Frenzy gives 500 free defense, so why would you stack too much defense? You'll get diminishing returns essentially. Okay, moving on, we got Hwayoung Cermia. Very popular unit right now. So 1600 defense, 24,000 HP, 200 speed, 150 effect resistance. Such basic average Soul Weaver numbers here. Proof of Friendship as well to give that extra health to the foremost ally, right? So it's not bad. And then a chance to give them extra combat readiness too. So yeah, not terrible, good for her. And this is my stat spread on the right side for the gears. So you can see some of the gears are actually really good, some of them are kind of mediocre, like that ring over there. But again, Soul Weavers, flat health is good, flat defense is good. Like, these types of stat lines are just great for increasing the bulk of your units. And Soul Weavers are pretty much never going to get super optimal pieces of gear, just because they prefer flat stats over actual percentage stat lines. Alright, but yeah, that's Hwayoung Cermia. So good on defense teams right now. I have her on my defense teams too. Sorry guys. Next up, General Purgus. 100 resist on this General Purgus at 220 speed. A little bit of damage, some bulk. Currently have him on Strat Gauntlet, so it basically makes him 160 resistance here. And he also has Spearhead, which kind of pushes up his combat readiness by an extra amount. This is really great for anti-Zeo teams, so if you have Christy on the front line and General Purgus in the back line and a couple stealth units on your team with Guiding Light or what have you, passives and such as Eligos' EEs, then if their first unit going is Zeo, which it always will be, then Zeo has to attack either Christy, pushing up your team, or attacks General Purgus, which pushes up your team. So yeah, with that, it's actually pretty nice. The effect resistance is there just so he can't really get pushed back. Sometimes General Purgus is like the only unit that Zeo can attack here without, like, you know, pushing up other people. So when Zeo attacks, if it's a lower effectiveness Zeo, then he can't hit the General Purgus back. With the Strat Gauntlet and effect res here, comboed with Christy's passive, then General Purgus will be 300 resistance, which means that Zeo can never push him back unless it's a full-on effectiveness Bloody Rose Zeo, which is quite rare nowadays. But yeah, moving on, we have Lionheart Cermia. So yeah, I have her on a meme artifact right now, Creation Destruction. Honestly, if I were to be serious about it, I would be running Durandal on her. So Durandal is a really good artifact for her, in my opinion. Been super happy with how it performs, especially with this lifesteal crit set build. I did have a better build with like 17k health, but I think that was because I gave a piece, I believe it was the necklace or something, to Fire Flan, but Lionheart will probably get that back once Fire Flan changes over to a counter set. But currently very happy with her stat line here. Not bad. I believe she had a bit more speed too, but overall right now 2,000 defense, 16,000 HP is good enough to survive. Yeah, fairly solid stuff. Haven't really been using her though, I'll be very honest. She is pretty lackluster right now in the current meta, but with a skin like this, I would really want to be able to use her more if I can. Next up, Little Queen Charlotte. Yeah, haven't really been using her. I should probably just build Savior Aiden instead to deal with Bystander Hwayoung, because with this type of speed, Bystander Hwayoung can, you know, faster ones or ones that can turn cycle and push with their teammates can just kill me super easily. Hellcutter is over here as well to help increase the attack and crit rate. It's a bit outdated of a build, honestly, but I kind of still like it. Probably will be pretty decent to use with like a Harseti type of team. Yeah, she doesn't have any speed substats except from like the speed set here. You can argue I can go Destruction, and I probably could. I'll probably see what I can do here. If I can go for a Destruction build, it would be kind of nice to have like 350 crit damage, like 4,000 something attack, used with Harseti, bash the head of like a Bystander Hwayoung in, and we'll be all good to go, right? But yeah, definitely a unit that needs a bit of tweaking on my end. Next up, Tywin. Oh boy, look at that. With self-imprint, 33,000 health. Typically, I spread out the self-imprint to the team imprint. It's more worth to have 2 units get 8.5% health, approximately, rather than you getting 12% health. Overall, it's a net increase on the HP on your team, which is good for bruisery comps. I could lower his defense a little bit because the RTA frenzy mechanics and such give him a bit more speed, right? The effect res doesn't really matter, but he's on Aureus to tank some damage for the team. The protection set gives a barrier for everyone as well, which is very useful. But yeah, his speed is a little bit, leaves a little bit to be desired, but honestly, for what he does, he is perfectly fine. Soaks up damage, punishes opponent's team with debuffs, has a little bit of cleansing for the team too. Not bad at all. Alright, moving on. Bellion. This is the Bellion I was talking about earlier. 200 effect res, 28,000 HP. I like her defense stat too. Almost no speed, you don't really need it. You just want to play her in like a really slow, high res team. So pair with Christy, pair with May Chloe, I think she has a lot of potential. I do need to max out this 3F for her eventually, so she has a 100% chance to deal extra damage to the opponents. This is where all her damage comes from, right? You don't need crit rate or crit damage, just use 3F. AoE damage, getting splash damage proportional to your health. Such a good effect. She's currently on counter set and immunity set. Makes sense. With that amount of speed, you don't want to get debuffed. If your opponent can't strip you because you have high effect resistance, then there you go, right? The immunity is going to be there for a while. And yeah, the counter set, definitely really strong. I know Mort exists, but you're really not bringing Bellion into Mort. And if you do get counterpicked, then that sucks. Try to kill the Mort first, I guess. Alright, moving on. We got Crimson Armin. So almost 2,000 defense, almost 30k HP, 110 speed, 100 resistance. Very standard, like super slow Crimson Armin type build. Mostly don't really use her that much, except for like maybe tanking stuff in Guild Wars occasionally. I do like bringing Tywin a lot more, just of his cleansing capabilities. Crimson Armin has immunity, but if I want immunity, I'm usually going for something like Last Rider Krau or Hand Guy instead. She's a bit too slow to put immunity up for the team, right? She actually pairs really well with Laya, I do have to say. Laya will full cleanse your team, push up your team, and then Crimson Armin can go, put up the immunity, and then you're good to go for the next couple of turns, right? But yeah, Crimson Armin, not too bad, but also not really great at the moment either. Dragon Bride Senya, so almost I want to get her to 40k health, but almost a 40k health build. I guess if I self-imprint here, right, gets a little bit closer, not quite there yet. I do prefer the team imprint, it gives you overall more bulk for your team. She's the one on my better Bastion of Pelusia here, which grants 28.5% of her max health to the back line for 2 turns, right? Huge, along with the immunity as well. So she doesn't need immunity, backline doesn't need immunity. It's a lot of value from her current build. No effect res on her, actually. I just have her on pure unadulterated bulk and then a bit of speed. So yeah, she does quite well on Guild War defenses, and I do sometimes bring her into RTA if my opponent is trying to threaten one of my particular units. Then you can bring her in. Keep in mind she gets countered by Empyrean Ilynav and Diene, so you might want to rethink picking her a little too early. Alright, next up, speaking of which, Empyrean Ilynav, one of the best knights in the entire game right now. So good. 175 speed, good amount of damage here for some chip. Honestly could reduce her defense a little bit, but I really like her HP here. Rise of Monarch, fantastic for just increasing the bulk of everybody, but also because she turn cycles quite a bit from getting hit, she gains combat readiness whenever she's hit here. She'll be able to turn cycle and then grant this like FCC like passive, the barrier equivalent to a percentage of her health for 2 turns to anyone who has the lowest health on the team, which is very nice. This is her current stat spread. Don't have her on penetration set, just have her on crit set here. I think it's good enough, honestly, because I was just trying to go for the defensive bulk rather than the damage. A little bit of chip damage from her is fine. I just need her to be a good support unit for the rest of my units on the team. Next up, we have Last Rider Krau, another unit that Empyrean Ilynav counters, but look at this fun build here, right? I really like his defense. It got a little bit lower than it was before. 30k health, almost 200 speed. Don't really need a whole ton of effect res because look at that. We're running Lifesteal HP Last Rider Krau. Every time he S3s, he gains a ton of health back. It's so much fun. Adamant Shield is okay on him. You can use that. You can also change it for some other things as well. He is pretty useful with Aureus if you want to mitigate damage. I usually run him with some other Aureus knight like Krau or a Tywin and such. You can also put damage artifacts and things on him. Bastion of Perlucia is also a really popular option to put on him too, so do keep that in mind. And I used to have him at some point on what's it called, the Rise of, or not Rise of a Monarch, but one that Holy Sacrifice, where I can revive myself, right? That's also pretty nice. But yeah, Bastion of Perlucia, if I took this from Yolha, for example, could be really good value for the Krau, for the LR Krau to have. I might actually do that. I think that's a pretty decent option here. Does lower his HP a little bit, but I think we're fine. Alright, next up we have Navy Captain Landy. Unfortunately, probably need to re-gear her. I should probably give her a little bit less damage and a bit more bulk. She is one of the few like anti-cleave units that are still okay. Cleave in general is not really seen in the traditional form anymore of like Ron and Jacko and such. It's kind of evolved quite a bit, but Navy Captain Landy can still be decent. Just keep in mind if your opponent chooses more, you might be screwed. Next up, last piece, Corinne. Actually switched a couple pieces of gear from her here. I think it was the weapon. That's right, the weapon. 13 speed, terrible weapon here. But if I get a penetration weapon that's a bit faster, then that will be better. She would have been on this piece that I actually took from her, put on Spirit Eye Celine. She would be 300 speed. This would be her stat line here. Actually, a perfect stat line for her. 85 crit rate pairs really well with Manica of Control because it has a 15% extra crit chance with extra hit chance too. 70% hit chance on evasion units is very nice. And then you also have S3, which dispels stealth. So 300 speed is the threshold I want her at. I'll be trying to craft some more pieces to get a speed weapon here, but otherwise, you guys saw, we can reach 300 speed as long as I have that other weapon here, and it's good enough. 300 speed is very nice for last piece Corinne. I know some people have faster, but for me, in all intents and purposes for her, yeah, then it gets the job done. Right. So last piece Corinne, used her a few times, but wasn't super consistent when I was using her, because it ended up being like speed imprint racing at that point. Next up is my Spirit Eye Celine. She took some pieces from people, but look at that stat line, guys. Look at that. Dust Devil right now, 30% chance to attack again with her S1, which is her main attacking skill. And we also got her EE here, where she can use Soul Burn for the first time for free, and increases damage dealt by 50%, which is good for killing things. Really good for killing things. Penetration and Lifesteal set here. Almost 3,500 attack with 250 crit damage. Almost 270 speed on a lifesteal set. Can't wait to pretty much like min-max this, or right, with any pieces that I can get here. So here are the stats, by the way. I want to try to get a better necklace overall. If I can get like one less roll on a crit rate here and into speed, I can reach 270 something speed, and then I can still have max crit rate. Because if I get the EE up with that to a plus 12 crit rate instead of 10, I think we should be able to do it, right? Should be doable. That's the dream. Spirit Eye Celine, 270 speed on lifesteal. We can try. Alright, next up we have Twisted Eidolon Kayron. Sadly, not that great of a unit. I've been trying to use him though. I've been friendship farming with him. Probably should change it to show you guys what he actually would look like here. But I would normally use him on Shepherd of Chaos, increases defense, and as his HP decreases, he increases his evasion and defense stat up to 40%, which is really good because then he becomes super hard to kill. He is currently on a protection set along with a resist set, 200 resistance, no speed, doesn't need any of it, just has bulk, just needs to survive, just keeps surviving until he can nuke everyone with his S3, and then all is good in this world. You can see a lot of pieces with flat health and flat defense that just work perfectly for him, especially on this protection set, right? He's giving mitigation to the rest of the team as well, along with a 10.8%, almost 11% HP increase for the team too. Really great team support unit right here. So 10 out of 10 for the support potential, 0 out of 10 for actual practical applications, sadly, right? Sadly. Alright, next up we have Watcher Shuri. Tried to use him as speed imprint several times. Every time I tried to bring him in, it didn't really work too well. Juking people out with Veronica worked out a little bit better. I'd say Sid might be a little bit better too, but Watcher Shuri just a little bit too slow, needs too much damage to really get things working. I do have him on the gaining skill null when he shoots his S3, and Sashay for pushing up the team for snowball effects, right? But the Torrent set right here, along with the speed, he can sometimes kill middling HP units, but for actual bulky super tanks out there, not quite. So I do need to get more damage on him, either that or just keep the damage and make him a lot faster, right? Moving on, we have New Moon Luna. Fantastic for sealing things. I used her all the time in the last season. Really good win rate. Almost like 2/3 of the games I picked her, I win. Right, so about 66% win rate in the last RTA season. Speed set, immunity set. You need immunity on her to make sure her skill effect nullifier gets max potential with it. And Target Hell's Ancient Book for the, obviously, souls to soul burn your first turn with New Moon Luna. Ignore res and everything like that. Such a powerful unit. 280 something speed was actually okay. Some people had units that were faster when you didn't really care. You just go after them and seal everyone anyway, and strip all their buffs, which is even better. So yeah, New Moon Luna, pretty solid stuff. Following that up, Silverblade Armintha kind of just started creeping up in the last season. Been really consistent with her. Plus 30 Abyssal Crown here for stunning, and yeah, with the speed and immunity set here, 250 speed and 200 effectiveness with a bit of bulk. She's actually been proven to be a very effective unit at controlling the opponent's team, right? Their side of the field. So yeah. I would recommend her as kind of a bridge unit to use. She pushes herself up after every ally turn, so if you're opening with really fast units, or even units that take extra turns like ML Pera and such, you can have a Silverblade Armintha cut, stun the whole opponent's team, and then you are good to go, especially if you have someone who can open up and strip your opponent's buffs, right? Like, let's say Fire Lidica goes S2, strips everyone's buffs, she takes an extra turn, S3's people, Silverblade Armintha goes, yeah, you're cooking at that point, especially with the RTA frenzy in this this preseason, the upcoming season. I think she'll be really powerful. Next up we have Shalltear. So good amount of bulk, 260 speed, could be faster, could be slower, but I have 200 effectiveness for those high res type of units out there. Target Hell's Ancient Book is pretty useful as well for the soul burn, but honestly you don't have to be running book on her. You could be running other artifacts as well. Some people run things like this, what is it called, the plus 27 Fairy Tale for Nightmare. So sometimes I have her on this, if I don't want her on book. This is actually really good because the extra splash damage every time she attacks is 2,000 damage to everybody, right? Incredible stuff, with the chance to dispel buffs too. It's really nice. She dispels buffs and then she's able to land her debuffs. It's a pretty good combination. Speed and hit set here, but keep in mind it's a lot of effectiveness, so as you can see on the weapon is a good place to get it, and same with the boots. Boots are a really good place to get effectiveness because it doesn't fight for you with the speed stat, right? Which is really good. Alright, but that's Shalltear there. Next up, Sylvan Sage Vivian, who got buffed. Very purple, very purple, and we got Chatty as well for the extra barrier, and this barrier scales off her attack, and she can stack up her attack really quickly now with her new buffs, which is great. Got her on SS imprint here with the crit rate and lifesteal and torrent set with still 10k HP and 1200 defense, right? Pretty nice. Got a lot more attack here than crit damage, mostly because you want to heal a lot more, and scales well with Chatty too. But you can see the stats here, especially on that helmet. It's absolutely insane. Love Sylvan Sage Vivian and her new buffs here. I think she has a lot of potential in the upcoming season to do very well. Good support team, has healing for the team, and now she actually has cooldown reductions for the team. So yeah, gonna be super good in combination with low cooldown units such as, you know, Fire Krau and such, Tori and whatnot too. So yeah, very cool to see. Next up, we have Dragon King Sharoon. I think going to be a very powerful unit moving forward, and a lot of people clowned on her in the past. I thought she was still really good before, but now she's even better. Sacred Tree Branch right here, helping increase her effectiveness even more. Mine's almost at 200 effectiveness here with extra combat readiness gains for herself and the ally with the highest attack. I have her on counter set with a hit set, and she's at 233 speed. She did lose a little bit of bulk because of her star sign change, but I think it's fine. I think this is a pretty usable stat line here, especially with the effectiveness. She's good against Mort too, so do keep that in mind. If they fear you, you can still cleanse it off of your team. So she's going to be very essential into fighting Mort comps moving forward. Much needed buff on her. Alright, next up, Infinite Horizon Katie started getting a bit of a comeback after she got this EE here, which gave her speed and gives stealth to target for 2 turns when she uses an S2 on them. This is huge because S2 is her main cleansing skill, and it's actually really nice that she grants stealth because it protects them from pretty much everything, right? Even halves the amount of AoE damage you would take. So it's really nice, especially if you're playing a more aggressive team with squishier units, right? Stuff like Tori and stuff can be put into stealth, and now that stealth can't be dispelled either. It's huge. Guardian Ice Crystals for the extra effect res, because it's needed. Obviously, we have 316, 17 effect res here. Yeah, still get debuffs sometimes, by the way, so that's fun. You also get to heal a bunch of health back with Guardian Ice Crystals, which is really useful. She's currently on effect res imprint here, and you can see the stat line. A lot of effect res into every single piece, as much as you can, because you want to reach as high of a crit resist as possible. 250 is okay, I just don't feel safe with 250. I go with a little bit more than 300, because I know some people build, like myself, 200 effectiveness units. If I fight 200 effectiveness units, if I have 300 effect res or more, I cannot get debuffed at all. So it makes Infinite Horizon KDs one of the best cleansers in the game. But of course, there are units that can ignore res. In those cases, you just pray that there's not anything that can hurt Infinite Horizon KDs and that she can cleanse all those debuffs off your team later. Alright, next up is a unit that I've recently built here on my last stream, which is Maid Chloe. I honestly think I need to lower this effect res here. Shamadra's staff is great. It increases effect res of everyone by 20%, and Maid Chloe's passive also does that too, so add 40% to the effect res here, and she's looking good, right? 260 something effect res. I think I can lower that down, honestly. She does not need that much. I think if I bumped it down and got a few more rolls into bulk, I would really like a lot more HP on her. I think the bulkier a Maid Chloe is, the harder she is to deal with, right? So yeah, we'll try to work on that for the future. But for right now, this is the current stat spread. We got an imprint onto her, but I haven't really pulled too many Chloes. If I had more Chloes, it would make building her a lot easier because we have a lot more imprints for that effect res there. But yeah, overall, not too shabby, I'd say, for just hand building this unit with a bunch of random pieces laying around, especially pieces like this that aren't even reforged, apparently, to get even more resistance. Look at that. That's pretty good. Okay, well, I'll work on her build later. Anyway, moving on, we got Bunny Dom. Fantastic unit for extra skill counters, right? So things like extra turn units, a good counter against those. So things like Elvira, for example, that take an extra turn and such, she's really good against, yeah, especially in Guild War offenses. So if you see a pair on defense team, Moon Bunny is a pretty good option to go for there to get that skill nullifier for the team. 260 speed's good enough, 100 effect res is good enough too. I prefer my Bunny Dom really bulky. Honestly, I need to get my maid like bulkier than even this for me to be happy with her. But yeah, Doctor's Bag as well is a fantastic artifact to use. Dispels an extra debuff from all allies and heals, right? Bunny Dom does a little bit of that, but this enhances her S3 to be a lot more powerful, which is great. Alright, next up we have Ruel of Light. I would like her to be, honestly, a bit more... maybe redistribute the bulk a little bit. I want a bit more HP rather than defense, especially with the current RTA mechanics, and I really want more speed. Effect res is okay, but I want more speed. Maybe I can drop the effect res to 100 and still be fine too, but yeah, Celestine is currently what I'm using because I'm on a counter Ruel, so if they're hitting me, I'm going to counter and I'm going to heal quite a bit. Her S1 now does pretty decent healing, so yeah. Ruel, haven't really used her though. I haven't really been playing super slow lately, but solid option. I should be using her more. Okay, next up, speaking of slower units, we have Apocalypse Ravi. Yeah, haven't really touched her in a while either. So Draco Plate here for extra damage, which is nice, but is that enough in this day and age where so many units have injury, like Choux, Alencia, and all that stuff's running around, right? Probably not, but Apoc Ravi, maybe Smallgate would buff her one day once again. I'm okay with her not getting one, but yeah. I just need to get a better necklace, honestly. If I get a better necklace, then she's going to be way more than usable again to round out her stats a bit more. She used to have like 27,000 health, right? And she'd just be really, really powerful. But right now, she's kind of fallen off. Haven't drafted her in a very long time. Next up, we have Assassin Cartuja, very good for evasion teams, couples well with Elpira. Got 100 effectiveness for the defense break on his S3 and his provokes as well. But yeah, 240 speed, not that bad. If he gets hit, he's already pushing up a ton of combat readiness and about to cut the opponent there. So Snow Crystal for extra combat readiness and a bit more of critical hit resistance, right? So if they do hit him, there's only an 80% chance they're going to crit him, which is really nice. And we also have this. After successfully evading, increases combat readiness of all allies except for himself by 10%, which is good for pushing up the team. His stat lines are here on the right side. You can see here. Don't need the best gear on him. Look at the necklace and the ring. They're terrible. Don't need the best gear on him at all. Just some usable pieces here and there. He's a unit that can do quite well with very, very little. Next up, Bagcat Armin. She has pretty decent bulk here, decent speed, it's okay, and 150 effectiveness. Team attack imprint here to give every DPS unit on your side more damage. I actually use her in PvE content usually. She's really fun for that, but for PvP, she could be useful in certain cases, just for fun. But Champion's Trophy, her S1s and AoE increases her effectiveness by a bit more, and 20% chance to stun. It's kind of like an Abyssal Crown, but for warriors. It's kind of nice. Her EE here is on the S3, which decreases buff durations by 1 when she uses her S3, which is nice. You can strip immunity off of somebody on your first turn, and then provoke them, which is wonderful. This is her stat spread on the right side. Some of the gears are okay. Honestly, a lot of these gears are just gears that I couldn't really use on other people. It's hard to find units that are middling speed that really want a lot of effectiveness. There are only so many units that are like that in the game, which is why I have all these leftover pieces that have a ton of effectiveness, but like really low speed, like 7, 9, and 4, 6 right here, right? She's not really fast, but her speed is decent, so not bad. Alright, next up we have Designer Lilibet. So Destruction set with immunity makes her really nice. Unfortunately, she's not that great right now because Fire Lidica kind of destroys her. A lot of resource reduction running around with the Fire Lidica, right, and Eligos as well. So Designer Lilibet has kind of fallen off in that regard. She might have a resurgence in popularity because of the new Frenzy mechanic favoring defense scaling units. But yeah, she has a good amount of damage here and can work quite well, but I don't know. I should probably honestly be using her more into Mort. Mort, she can counter Mort pretty well, I think, too. Okay, moving on here, we now have Lone Crescent Bellona. So Lone Crescent Bellona, I haven't used her in quite a while, honestly. I use her in Guild Wars sometimes if I see anti-crit units on the other team, like Navy Captain Landies and such. They're more outdated defenses, but some people still have them. Sigurd's Scythe is wonderful for some healing and extra damage, but yeah, crit damage here with some penetration. She does good. I like her bulk. I like her bulk quite a bit here. Allows her more staying power on the field. I just wish I can use her a bit more. But yeah, for right now, I mean, she gets the job done, right? Could be really good once like Diene and stuff starts seeing more popularity with anti-crit start running around again. Lone Crescent Bellona will definitely make a resurgence. She is one of those units that will sleep for a while and then come back when the time is right. Next up is Lone Wolf Peyra. So a lot of people are running either Spear, this Spear of Purification on her, which increases her combat readiness by 10% if the opponent uses a non-attack skill. So let's say ML Politis doing an S3, or they're running things like Sweet Miracle, right? So I'll put Spear of Purification on her right now, but you can also run Sweet Miracle on her to cleanse herself of debuffs. Turn 1, so if she gets stunned or slept or anything like that, then you can cleanse that off. And yeah, so currently running her on a little over 300 speed. Attack imprint for the team is pretty nice. I don't really care about keeping her alive necessarily. I'd rather my team do more damage, like Remnant Violet and stuff like that I'm coupling with her. So yeah, Lone Wolf Peyra. Right side here, you can see the gear, the average gear for this type of speed is actually pretty high. You're gonna need like 21 or 22 speed pieces on average. If I took 2 speed from here and put it here, that's 21, 21, 21, 22, 21. So yeah, hard to build. Definitely very hard to build here. You do not need these speeds. I've seen a lot of Peyras with slower speeds running Spear Purification, and she works wonders. She works quite well. So yeah, that's my Lone Wolf Peyra build. She's been doing okay. A bit of effectiveness too. You can get her with more bulk if you don't go for an effectiveness ring, but I like the defense break a lot. The defense break, especially with S1 into Fire Flan, is really useful for one-shotting certain units too. Okay, next up, ML Ken. Don't go for this build, it's really bad, but I still haven't built just in case. It actually is okay in the current RT frenzy because he gets like so much more defense here. But yeah, ML Ken, build and bulky. I might cut a little bit of res. I think 100 res is okay. It's either that or like 200 resistance. I don't know what I want to go for, honestly. Sigurd's Scythe is pretty good for just extra damage, right, and healing. But yeah, I don't know what direction I want to go with him. If I want to go more res, I'm going to need to re-gear him for sure. I think that might be the way to go. But again, not 100% sure what I want to do with him just yet. I think he might be cool with something like Bossa Rumka, but we'll have to see. Next up, Mediator Cowrick. So, yeah, a lot of damage on him. A little bit of bulk, 200 speed. He's on Warhorn, which gives the team more damage and his ability to gain combat readiness. Got him on Destruction and Penetration. Again, damage Cowrick is really nice. I like support Cowrick too, like just dedicated cleanser and everything, but damage has been doing quite a bit for me, especially when I draft him into slower teams. People assume I don't have a DPS unit on my side, and then surprise, surprise, Cowrick one-shots their DPS unit, and suddenly he's a threat. Works quite well, depends on your playstyle though. Right, next up we have, Urban Shadow Choux. So there you go, 250 speed Urban Shadow Choux, thanks to this EE with giving a bit more speed here, and she grants stealth to herself at the end of the turn, which is wonderful. Proof of Valor to help reduce the damage that you're taking, and this is her stat spread on the right side. Super solid unit, best injury applicator in the game, aside from Alencia. Alencia is better at like single target injury application. Urban Shadow Choux is better for whole team injury application here, and the speed actually helps her turn cycle quite a bit. So yeah, you're going to be taking quite a few turns and you're detonating injury on your opponent. Nothing more to say. Very good unit right now. Abyssal Euphine, starting to see a bit more of a comeback here. I like her on lifesteal, so that's why I keep her there on that. Lowered her attack a little bit here. Crit damage is fine. She doesn't need too much damage overall. She just needs the bulk to stay alive on the field. Elber's Ritual Sword to help counter. Again, more exists, but most of the time you're drafting her is for the bulk, for a little bit of chip damage, and for the ability to shut down your opponent's combat readiness gains. You cut that combat readiness gain in half. She's really fun to use with Fire Politis as a Degen Politis, because both of them can stay on the field, and then you cut your opponent's combat readiness gains by 100%, which means they cannot push themselves up at all until they get rid of either or both of your units, right? So yeah, this is her gear on the right side. Again, pretty straightforward. Some of the pieces are actually pretty good, like the ring and the weapon, but other than that, just make sure she has a 2000 defense for her to get her full ability. Alright, next up, Arbiter Vildred, Degen RB. I've been wanting to use him a lot, but again, counter set, guys. More just ruins all the fun. He's on Moonlight Dreamblade here for extra evasion and the attack buff here. He has attack EE and I guess that Archdemon's Might, which is wonderful because again, he gets more attack, more evasion for 3 turns. It's so good. But the stat spread here is on the right side. RB is pretty fun. Just unfortunate right now that Mort exists and just shuts down all the fun stuff here. Right, sorry about that notification, but let's go ahead and move on to my Bloodblade Corinne. She's a very popular unit right now in the meta, and I currently have her on Hostess of the Banquet. Very good artifact for her, because the effect res and the extra damage dealt. I know a lot of people are shying away from the effect res build and going for speed and damage on her. I really don't care. I like my effect res build on BBK. I think it's really funny to see people not be able to control her and then she just ends up nuking them. So it's like you're trying to delay the inevitable, but the delays don't work, right? So yeah, she gets immortality for an extra turn here, one of her best EEs. What's making her meta right now is because she has 2 immortalities. It's super hard to deal with unless you have Veronica. And I don't even have her on a counter build. It's just a triple res set, and the pieces aren't even that great. I'm definitely going to be trying to look for upgrades to these pieces here so that we can build a very solid BBK and maybe take her for a spin in RTA. But yeah, this is currently what's on my defense teams right now, so she's been working quite well in Guild Wars, getting some green shields. Next up, Closer Charles. This is my awesome Bruiser build. Honestly, I don't ever get to use this. It's very sad. Plus 30 Shepherd of the Hollow on him too, lifesteal and immunity. In theory, it's great. In practice, I don't think it delivers. So I might just change my Closer Charles to be a faster build, and we'll see if he can work from there, right? We'll see. Next up, Remnant Violet. Oh no, he's missing a chest piece. It's okay. Remnant Violet here is pretty solid, honestly, as a unit. I think he was on something like this. We could probably just steal something. Yeah, steal something like that. I think he was on something like Spirit Eye Celine's piece right here. But honestly, we'll just throw something like. Ooh, actually, this is just a slightly better. Okay, we'll put this piece on. Remnant Violet is okay on lifesteal. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of over the lifesteal on him. I think the best build for him is like a speed build. If you go for like a 280 speed Remnant Violet, just go right after Amalpera, just nuke something right off the bat. He will be so powerful because you have about the same amount of bulk, right? With that type of fast speed, you just have a lot more speed, a lot more damage because you don't need to have this like lifesteal set that's not giving you any bonuses in terms of your stat line. And Remnant Violet just needs a bunch of stats. So yeah, with Shepherd of the Hollow here with you know, the SSS imprint for his crit rate, I think that's the least I can do for him is to make him super fast. This is current gear right now. This is kind of a weaker lifesteal build. I used to have one that's a bit bulkier, but he gets the job done, right? If I use him in like Guild Wars and arenas, he still gets his job done. He's still a wonderful unit, fun to use. I just think he'll be a lot more effective on speed. Next up, Brieg Iseria here. Haven't changed her gear in a while, and I really like her set. So 240-something speed is good enough for me, and how I like to use her. I like my opponents to all take their turns, and I strip all their buffs and defense break them, and then go for the kill. The 8 speed here for the EE, you can get up to 10, but increases defense break chance by 10%, which is wonderful. That's her main job there, is to S3 and defense break. We have her on Guiding Light to help protect her from things like Zeo, obviously, to help her keep her stealth and keep her alive. She has immortality that can keep her alive too, which is why I'm not too worried about speed. A lot of people build her as an opener unit. I tend to build her as a middling speed debuffer, which is fine for me. Immunity and speed set as well to help protect her from debuffs before her turn. So yeah, this is her stat line here. Very good pieces of gear that are currently being used on her. Maybe save for the ring there, but yeah, I'm really liking the 100 effectiveness, really strong for fighting things like Blood Moon Haste or on any other units that typically have about 100 resistance on their teams. Alright, next up, Helion Lua. So the unit that a lot of you guys have seen me have been using in RTA. This is a unit that I absolutely love and that kept me playing RTA, honestly, all throughout last season, even though I was kind of like, you know, dwindling a little bit in my presence in the game. I was kind of getting a little bit burned out, but she kept me in there and she did a wonderful job at it. I had the most successful season I've ever had by using her. Just absolutely amazing time. I think I ended the season with like a 65% win rate, which is nuts. And yeah, about the top 3,000 in champion, right? So top 3,000 in the RTA rankings. Yeah, Helion Lua, guys, super fun, super powerful unit, so cringe, but that cringe is what fuels the power from within, right? This is our stat line right here, same gear as Lidica. So this is the exact same pieces. You saw me just transfer it over there. Gave all the pieces to Lidica just because I've been testing her out. I think I'll slow down Lidica a little bit and try to give her some other pieces from other units, but currently right now Helion Lua putting in a lot of work. Next up, Pirate Captain Flan. So yeah, Summertime Iseria, but slightly worse, I guess, in certain ways. Yeah, this is my Pirate Captain Flan right now, 250 speed. I wish she got her full buff that she was meant to get, but alas, it wasn't meant to happen. This are her stats on the right side. She's on Star of the Deep Sea, Summertime Iseria's artifact. So yeah, it works wonders with her S1, which detonates bombs after you S1. Yeah, she's a bit more consistent now than she was before, but still nothing to write home about. I just like her design, kept her built, one of my favorite characters in the game, so there we are. Next up, Seafan and Politis. Honestly, I don't really ever use her offensively in like RTA. I use her in arenas sometimes, and a lot of times I use her in Guild Wars. Very fun there. Miss Confeel is also really nice for defense team Politises, where you can defense break your opponent with an S1, and then you dual attack with like a really strong hitting Jenua or something of the sort. Is actually really consistent for getting green shields. And we have team imprints here for the attack. You could self-imprint for the HP if you want to keep her alive, it's fine. I just prefer more damage on her, you know? Keep dual attacking with more damage units, finish off your opponent faster. Alright, next up we have Archdemon Shadow. So currently I have her on Tagahel's Ancient Book, and have her on her EE here, which is very nice. I think it max rolled here too, which is good. It's a dual attack with the ally with the highest attack when using her S1. Here are her stat lines here. I currently have her on a team imprint, don't need the attack imprint for herself, so she's just supporting the team right there. Decent bulk, 270 speed, 88 effectiveness, again good enough to seal 100 effect res units here. And she's currently running speed set and hit set to make sure she can achieve these stat lines while remaining bulky. Next up, Harsetti. So we got injury on her along with a crit rate set, and she should honestly not be on this. I'm just farming with her right now. But Harsetti is very, very strong. You can run her on a multitude of artifacts. Tagahel's Ancient Book is a good one to be running on her if you want some Soulburn shenanigans, which I definitely would be doing. And you can also run her on, where is it? Abyssal Crown, right? You can also use Abyssal Crown on her for some extra stuns and stuff, especially if you have the, the effectiveness. So yeah, really good, right? Tagahel's Ancient Book is nice, but honestly, if it were up to me right now, because I have her on some defense teams and such, Abyssal Crown is wonderful. So I'm going to switch her over to the Abyssal Crown. I'm just putting these artifacts on for you guys so you can see the stat lines that are on them. So there you go. Right, not a huge change in terms of stat lines there. So yeah, Harsetti, such an impressive unit. I only really use her on defense teams. I tried using her in RTA a few times. It was really fun with like certain units like Charles, but other than that, I'm not a huge fan of how she works. Requiem Rowana, a lot of bulk, double immunity set, which doesn't give you 2 turns of immunity, by the way, and she should also be on a... Sorry about that. Let's see here. We go for Oops, not an enhancement. No, that's what's wrong. We're changing. She's supposed to be on book. Toggel's ancient book. There you go. So she's supposed to be on book. That's the amount of bulk she should have on book. She has a bunch of effectiveness imprints here, gaining effectiveness, so she's almost 300 effectiveness. Not bad at all. You want her to basically be able to debuff everybody, reset everybody, even things like Infinite Horizon Acades. You want to be able to reset them, push them back, and not let them take their first turn, right? This is the gear that I'm currently using. It's honestly just anything with as much effectiveness as possible. I could probably improve the helmet there. The chest piece is pretty good here. Immunity is not bad on her, honestly. Just in case you get outsped for some reason or whatever. You don't need it though. Triple hit set here would be honestly super beneficial to everything that she does. But yeah, getting some attack as well is not bad because she does scale off her attack for extra damage and her splash damage procs. So do keep that in mind. You don't have to go for all bulk here. Could go for damage as well. She doesn't need to be super tanky. It does help sometimes though, especially if you combo her with Zio and she's taking turns and she's chipping away your opponent slowly. Sometimes she's one of your few DPS units that's on your team if you have a very scuffed draft. Right, next up, Spectre Tenebria. Lifesteal Torrent build. I'm very proud of this build. I really like it, but unfortunately just never had the chance to use her. 190 speed is way better than what I used to have her at 180 speed. I think it was 179 speed before. Attack here from the EE is really good, and she increases her attack and defense every time she attacks, but yeah, she's very tanky, very strong. Unfortunately, just kind of fallen off a lot in the past several metas, past several seasons. Arbiter Vildred is probably the better unit now to choose from your selectors, your first round of ML selectors, but I love Spectre Tenebria's design way too much to pass up on this, so here we are, she's still built. Next up we have Zio. We're almost done, guys. Zio here is 260 speed, bit of damage, bit of bulk, bit of effectiveness on book, obviously, and team imprint to make sure that my opponents, my teammates get a lot more damage on them. You could switch to effectiveness, so about 100 effectiveness here if I did self-imprint, which is typically what I want to do if I'm fighting things I know are a bit bulkier with higher resistance, like Blood Moon Haste and stuff that I really want to push back, right? Empyrean Ilynavs, things like that. You really want to push those units back to make sure they don't take their turn, right? So yeah, that's Zio. I mean, this is his stat line. You can see I have a couple pieces that are offset, right? So this attack necklace that has 19 speed, it works out quite well. All the substats are good. Same thing with his rage piece right here. All the substats work out, so why not use it? Alright, next up we have Blood Moon Haste on Celestine. So when he attacks with single target attack, heals the ally with the lowest health. This works on his S1, his extra attack, and his S3, which is really nice for healing. He's on counter and HP set, and he's pretty bulky right here. Actually extremely bulky, especially with RTA mechanics in play. 100 resistance is pretty standard for Blood Moon Haste. You don't want to get like randomly hit with like debuffs. Honestly, you can pass up on all the effect res if you really want to and go for mega bulk or more speed, but I kind of like him the way he is right now. Just keep in mind if you're fighting more kind of doo-doos on him, and Empyrean Ilynav too, so it's kind of why he's kind of fallen off in terms of meta there. Next up, not Blood Moon Haste, Death Dealer Ray. One of my favorite units in the game as well. Wondrous Potion Vial for the cleansing every single turn when he S3s and S2s, and when he does that extra turn there with the S3, you can cleanse 2 debuffs, because he takes 2 turns there, which is nice. I like his bulk. His speed could be a little bit higher. I kind of like him around the 270 speed, honestly, but I did take I think I did take a piece or so from him. I think I did take this piece and something else from him. Yeah, I think this piece. The weapon and the chest I think I took for other units, because I've been using him less and less ever since they released Schneel. Effectiveness could be higher. It used to be like 150 effectiveness. I'll have to re-gear him later on, but yeah, this is currently his stat line. The necklace is perfect because it was an event crafting piece necklace where you can choose your substats, but other than that, everything else is kind of mediocre and leaves a lot of room to improve, right? But yeah, DDR is still super fun. Works at this effectiveness too because his S2 gives him effectiveness buff, so it works that way. Next up, Sinful Angelica. Yeah, 270 something speed, 200 effect resistance. This is honestly a really good like Diene stat spread. I just want a little bit more bulk, which I could probably get. I mean, Sinful Angelica is a 4-star after all. Diene should have a little bit more bulk there. If I wanted more effect resistance, boom, 225 effect res here. pretty good. Sometimes in Guild Wars I go for the attack though, because 200 is enough. But yeah, in the cases where you don't think it's enough, go for the 2 self-imprint here. And we have her on speed and effect resistance. Her EE gives speed as well, increasing effectiveness for herself for 2 turns. You can also change this to other things, like the amount recovered with your Soul Harvest, which is also not bad. In fact, I have 2 of these same exact ones somehow. Alright, anyway, we're going to switch to this one right here. The healing is typically a little bit better, right, in certain PvP aspects. Her effectiveness is not bad. You can debuff some things, but not really going to be debuffing all too much in general. Speed and effect resistance, not that bad either. Here her stat spreads here on the right side. You can see it doesn't really take that much speed to get her to this level. 16, 14, 18, 14, 14. So on average, probably something around 15 to 16 speed on each piece, which is very achievable. She also doesn't need a ton of bulk because she gives herself immortality, so it's nice. Alright, and that is pretty much it for all the units here. Yeah, other units that I have are built are PvE units and stuff, but they're not really that impressive or any different than builds from the past. So yeah, anyway, let me know, guys, what you think of this account overview. Is there a unit you want to see in the future? If so, just join our Discord server, link in the description down below, so that you can just ping me and ask me for certain units and builds. If I have them, I'll be happy to show them to you. With that being said though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.